Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome back to another glute focused video. I've not done one of these in a while and you guys always love them and I love making them because it's just a way that I can make a sort of video like this more informative. I post things like this on Instagram, but it's obviously hard for me to go in depth over there. So if you are wanting the best workout to grow your glutes, keep watching this video. This is the workout that has honestly grown my glutes from this to this throughout my fitness journey, and obviously this is alongside a lot of other things like my diet and my lifestyle and everything like that. But this workout, honestly, I do it week in, week out, substituting sometimes like the isolation movements or the unilateral movements, but more or less I do the exact same movement patterns and exercises every single week, which is what the main key factor here is that I'm going to be talking about in this video, is that you need to stay consistent with the same exercises. If you are swapping and changing around your exercises every single week, you are gonna find it hard to make progress because you are not gonna allow your body to progress in that specific movement. For example, hip thrusts. If you do hip thrusts 1 week and then you don't do them for like another 3 weeks and you're not progressing in weight and you're wondering why, that is why. Because you're not allowing yourself or giving yourself the opportunity to be able to increase in the weights because you're not doing them often enough. So what I say is to stick to the same exercises every week and utilize progressive overload within those exercises. Progressive overload is a method that sort of helps prevent you from hitting a plateau, which, if you don't know what a plateau is, it's basically when you stop making progress. Now, this is very common, you know, as you get further into your fitness journey. If you are doing the exact same things every single week with the exact same weights, your body needs stimulus to be able to respond to that. So if you are not doing anything to give your body that stimulus and giving it that extra little bit every week, you're going to find it hard to build muscle, and that is when you will hit a plateau. Whereas progressive overload are things like increasing the reps, increasing the weights, increasing frequency, etc. These are all examples of progressive overload that you can implement week in, week out to avoid you hitting that plateau and to ensure that you are still making sufficient progress every single week. So I say to stick to the same exercises every week and utilize progressive overload within those. This can literally just be adding a 2.5 kg plate on the end of hip thrusts every time. Like, little progress is still an example of progressive overload. Like, I don't expect you to be adding 20 kilos onto an exercise every single week because that's definitely unattainable and unsustainable. So you need to make sure that what you are doing is also sustainable and also realistic for you and your goals. I've spoken about this a lot in my previous videos, but I structure my glute workouts in a specific way, and I find that this way has helped me grow my glutes the most and has been the most optimal way to structure the workouts, in also just getting the most effective workout possible and ensuring that my energy levels are still good during the workout and I feel like I'm getting the most out of it. So that structure is that I start with compound movements, then go into unilateral movements, and then go into isolation movements. So the reason I start with a compound movement is because they require the most amount of energy and they target more than one muscle at a time. So these are going to be the exercises that sort of tire you out the most and you are, as I said, going to need the most energy for. For example, hip thrusts, RDLs. These are the two compound movements that I do every single glute day without fail. And you can do multiple different variations of these exercises too. So you could do B stance hip thrusts or B stance RDLs, or you could do hip thrusts with pulsers or with a pause. Like, it doesn't just have to be a bog standard hip thrust or RDL. You can add in variations per week, but I add in some sort of hip thrust or RDL variation first in every single glute workout. And then moving on to unilateral movements, these are your single leg exercises. These are so important to include in your routine because they help prevent imbalances, and it also just puts a lot of focus and tension on one muscle on one side of your body at once. For example, lunges, step ups, split squats, etc. I find these are all really good unilateral movements. And then lastly, I move on to isolation movements. These are the movements that isolate a specific muscle more so they require a smaller amount of energy and are really good to just put in the end of your workout for that extra like burn and that extra pump in the muscle that you are targeting. So without further ado, I feel like we should head to the gym and I should actually show you guys what I'm talking about. I do have mics, but they're on charge. I'm not sure if they're going to be fully charged, and I don't know how busy the gym is going to be, so I'm not going to promise anything. But if I can do a mic'd up, I will. But if not, then I will do a voiceover for you guys. But if you have any questions about the workout, leave them in the comments below. But hopefully I cover everything that I need to cover within this video. Okay, my apologies, my microphone was actually muted. I didn't realise, so I'm just going to do this little bit as a voiceover. The rest of it is mic'd up, but it's just this bit and the first exercise. I didn't realise it was muted. But we are starting with a warm-up as always. I always urge you guys to do a dynamic warm-up before your workouts, whether that's leg day or upper body day. Either way, you need to be doing a dynamic warm-up. We keep the dynamic warm-ups before the workout as they increase blood flow, improve joint and muscle mobility, and also reduce the risk of injury as well. And then we use the static stretchers at the end for more of a cool down. This is basically an exercise where you are in the same position for around 30 seconds or more, whereas as you can see now, I'm kind of like constantly moving around and moving my body, which is why it is called a dynamic warm-up. I ensure that my warm-ups last usually around 10 minutes. My first exercise that I'm going into is barbell RDLs. Now I would normally like to put hip thrusts first, but it wasn't free, so I just switched them around and did RDLs first instead. Now this is an exercise that utilizes the glutes in their lengthened position, and I like to include movements that work the glutes in their lengthened position and also their shortened position. The hip thrusts work the glutes in their shortened position, so you've got one of each there working the glutes in different ways. With RDLs, I like to make sure that I have a slight bend in the knee the entire time. You want to keep the barbell as close as possible to your legs. It's literally like meant to be scraping your legs. And as you can see, I have the bend in my knee. You want to keep your core tight and also hinge at your hips as well. Kind of like act like you are sitting back into your glutes, if that makes sense, and sitting back into your hips as if you are closing a door, maybe. And also keeping your chin and your head tucked as well. Okay, I'm actually so sorry, but I've realised that my mic was muted for that first exercise, and I also just did one set of this and realised that it was muted. But basically my second exercise is hip thrusts. I would normally do these first, but somebody was on the machine, so I did my RDLs first. Moving on to this second, I usually like to do this first just because I feel like it gives me a really good activation in my glutes for like the rest of the entire session. But we're going to do 2 plates and a 10. I just did 3, but it just felt a little bit too heavy, and I feel like I couldn't get a full like squeeze on my glutes at the top, and I couldn't get the best contraction, so I've lowered it a little bit, and I'm going to do 8 to 10 reps. I've got double padding on here as well because it's just way better, but there's so many different like hip thrust setups that you can do. I feel like just find the one that works best for you. I just think this is a little bit comfier than with a barbell, and I find that I can go heavier as well. So yeah, let's get to it. With hip thrusts, I would say that you want to have your legs around shoulder width apart, but obviously everybody's legs and, you know, the length of their legs is different, but putting your feet and your legs in different areas will target different areas of your legs and your glutes. So just find what works for you and how you get the best glute connection. You want to make sure that your chin and your head are tucked to your chest. You don't want to be putting your head back, and you want to keep the movement nice and strict. And by strict, I mean reducing the amount of movement in anywhere but your legs. So like your head, for example, you want to keep it in the same place the entire time, tucked to your chest, and then also your back as well. You don't want to be, you know, like including loads of movement with your back and hyperextending, because you are probably going to injure yourself, and it's going to end up hitting your back more than it's going to be hitting your glutes, but not in a good way. If your glutes are not literally on fire after, you're doing something wrong. But that was my second set done. I've got 1 set left. I basically only do like 3 sets of everything. I just find that to be most effective for me, of like 8 to 10 reps usually. Next in the workout we have dumbbell sumo squats. This is one of my favorites for the glutes. I actually get such good mind to muscle connection in my glutes doing this, and the main form tips I would give you would be to, again, hinge at the hips. As you can see, my body is leaning forward and hinging the entire time, and I'm also keeping my chin and my head tucked to my chest again. And you want to externally rotate your feet and your legs as well, and have a pretty wide stance, obviously hence the word sumo. You want to be in a sumo stance and have your feet and legs externally rotated, and you want to contract your glutes throughout the entire movement as well. You don't want to be hyperextending them at the top. Okay, next exercise we have is cable step-ups. These are my favourite unilateral movement. Just hit the glutes in just the right spot, I think. And I like to do them on the cables. So you're going to go down, hinge at the hips, only slightly tap that foot onto the floor and back up. It's really important that you only just slightly tap that foot that is going down to the floor, just slightly tap it onto the floor so that it's not giving you too much support. You want to keep all the tension within that leg that is on the bench instead of the one that's going down to the floor. You want to make sure that that supporting leg is slightly bent the entire time, even when you come up to this position. Hinging at your hips, leaning your body forward and your head. The burn. Oh, the burn in the glutes is insane once you like get the form nailed down on that. Okay, the last exercise that we have is lying leg curl. This is obviously our hamstring isolation exercise of the workout. I don't really like to do just glute focused workouts. Whenever I do glutes, I like to also include hamstrings as well, because obviously it's super important to have a balance. But I'm not going to go too heavy on this, obviously, because it's an isolation movement, and I think I'm going to add a 3-second negative onto it as well. I feel like I just sort of abandoned you then, didn't really explain to you what a 3-second negative or a negative actually is. But the negative basically refers to the downward or lengthening phase of a movement, and it can also be called the eccentric part of the movement as well. And in a lot of exercises like this, like isolation movements where I want them to be a little bit more intense, where necessarily you can't really go that heavy in them, I will include things like a 3-second negative. So I count for 3 seconds on the way down from the movement, and it just makes it that much more intense and puts that much more tension on the target muscle. Okay guys, that is the workout completed. My hairline right now is so sweaty. I've just taken the clip out of my hair, but that was actually such a good session. Like, I feel really good after that. Obviously, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but last week I had a rubbish week of training because I was on my time of the month, and you know, things just didn't work out how I wanted them to work out. So I'm excited to get back to it this week, and I always like to start my weeks with glutes and hamstrings. But I hope this video was helpful and you could sort of see the way that I structure my glute workouts. I just want to mention as well that this is what I personally do. I'm not saying that this is going to work for you, but this is what I have found over being 7 years on my fitness journey to have worked the most effectively after doing lots and lots of trial and error. And I mean, I feel like the proof is in the pudding. Like, my glutes have grown a lot since the start of my journey, and I really put it down to this routine, as well as eating good nutritious food. And it's also important to mention that in the past I have gone through like gaining phases, like bulking phases with my nutrition, obviously, and that also played a huge factor into growing my glutes. I'm never going to be that person online that's going to tell you that, you know, food doesn't matter, you can do this glute workout and this is the only thing that's going to grow your glutes, because that is not the case at all. Like, whoever tells you that is lying because even you could be doing that workout that is very, you know, effective and a good workout, but if you have poor nutrition alongside that, if you are maybe not eating the right amount of calories for your goals, and you just have no focus on nutrition basically, and you're lacking in that area, you're not going to be able to see the gains that you want to see. I'm just going to put it bluntly like that. You need to make sure that you have a good nutritious diet locked down, because they really do go hand in hand, and you can't out-train a bad diet. You cannot out-train a bad diet. I cannot say that enough. But yeah, if you guys have any questions with regards to the workout, then pop them in the comments below. but I hope that I managed to explain everything well enough. My mic ended up being muted for my first exercise, so I'm really sorry about the RDLs, but I managed to mic everything else up except one exercise because it was literally rammed in that section in the gym. But don't worry, there will have been a voiceover over the top. You will have already heard it, so I don't even know why I'm talking about it. But yeah, I hope this video helped you in having a really good effective glute workout in your routine. And if you are wanting to train with me and alongside me, I do have workout programs on the Evolve app. We have also actually just launched an extension onto my game program, so there's a few extra weeks added, and then we have a very, very exciting announcement coming in the next few weeks as well, which is to do with Evolve and maybe a new program. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated on that over the next couple of weeks. I think my next video or the video after that will be a full week of workouts, and I will go more in depth into all of my workouts in the week and my current updated workout split, because I know that my split has sort of updated lately and I've switched some things around and I haven't actually really done a full video on it on YouTube. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. There's very exciting things coming. I don't really like to be the person that says like, oh, you need to get summer body ready, but I know that some people, you know, use summer as motivation, and as we know, summer is very close around the corner. So if you are wanting to feel more confident in yourself and your body, then look out for my programs on the Evolve app, and don't forget to use the code MIA as well. It will get you money off all subscriptions. And yeah, come train with me. Honestly, if you are wanting like a plan that is simple but effective, and you're going to be in the gym for no longer than an hour and a half, an hour normally, but no longer than an hour and a half, you need to follow my program, because it's so simple and it's the only program and way of training that I have found to gain me the most progress. And I've heard the same feedback from so many of you girls. So if you are wanting a simple program that's going to get you results, make sure you come join my program on Evolve, because it's honestly the best. And it's basically just my way of training that I've put into a program. I would never make a program that isn't my way of training, and you know, I've never trained like that before. So my program is very much what you have just seen, basically week by week, just maybe switching out a couple of the unilateral and isolation exercises. It's very much the same as that. Yeah, I'm gonna stop chatting now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it's a little bit shorter, but I feel like workout videos like this are always a little bit shorter, but I hope that it was, you know, effective and you've learned something. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.